Yep, fantastic. All right, here we go. So yesterday, we left off a little hurriedly. I didn't get a chance to finish everything with Hannibal and Carthage because I was in a hurry to finish. So let's start with Hannibal. You heard that he escaped. He escaped from the Battle of... What was the battle? Battle of Zama. Battle of Zama. So he escaped from the Battle of Zama, and for the next 19 years, he's going to go into hiding. And so he'll end up over in modern-day Turkey, hanging out there for about 19 years, trying to write his war memoirs. All right. So as he's dictating these to a slave, he's still this tremendous threat to Rome. All right, so think of it this way. If you've got, when we were tracking down Osama bin Laden for all those years after 9/11, couldn't find the guy, but knew we had to, right? It's the same thing with Hannibal. Rome will not rest until this guy is dead. And so Hannibal is in hiding, dictating his war memoirs, and then finally the Romans are going to track him down, and they're going to come and kill him. But before they get a chance to kill him, Hannibal is going to... Hold on, I've got the code here. Here it is. So Hannibal is going to say with his dying words, "And now the time has come to rid the Romans of this hated old man." Then he took poison and died. Lying next to his body were his completed war memoirs. And the Romans, when they showed up and they saw this stuff, they asked the slave, "Is this the only copy?" He said, "Yes, this is the only copy." Apparently he lied. Some of it leaked out. All right, so they took this thing, and the Roman commander that was there, he said, "If anyone writes the story of that man, it shall be the Romans." And then they burned his war memoirs. Oh, I know! Those scoundrels! And now in the third Punic War, we already saw that about the third Punic War, who's the man, myth, and legend that's going to go in and destroy Carthage once and for all? Scipio Aemilianus! Alright, there you go. So Scipio Aemilianus is going to go in, and after 6 days of killing every man that was trying to resist them, every military-age man, they're going to kill at sword point or spear point in the streets of Carthage. 6 whole days of constant street battles. Then for 2 weeks, this city is going to burn to the ground. And what's the legend again? What did he do afterward? According to legend, what did the Romans do after they burned the city? They salted the earth so that not even the weeds could give testimony to the legacy of Carthage. All right, now, reportedly, while Scipio Aemilianus was watching the city burn, he started to weep. And his teacher, Polybius, who was there on campaign with him, asked him, "Why are you weeping?" And he said to him, "O Polybius, it is a grand thing, but I know not how. I feel a terror and dread, lest someone should one day give the same order about my own native city." Ooh, are we hearing a little foreshadowing? What's going to happen to Rome in the 400s? Burn. It will burn! Oh my. All right, so a little foreshadowing for you. And by the way, who's this beautiful man that was the first to ascend the walls? Tiberius Gracchus. All right, so we'll hear about him a little bit today as we take a look at the Roman Revolution. So this is part 1 of the Roman Revolution. This revolution will bring about the end of the Republic, the death of the Republic. And so many of the figures we'll be talking about today and early next week are the people that you're researching for your political campaign videos. So first, let's take a look at what's going to happen after the Punic Wars. So the legacy of the Punic Wars, we get a quote from historian Mortimer Chambers, UCLA historian, man, myth, and legend, who tells us, "The breakdown of the Roman Republic was Hannibal's legacy. For the ravages of years of fighting up and down Italy had brought many farmers to the point of ruin." Why? What was Hannibal's strategy at the end of the war? End of the second Punic War. What was the strategy? To what? To burn everything, all right? To burn everything that was within sight, because the Romans wouldn't fight it. So he decided, rather than invade Rome, which is somewhat defenseless at the moment, I'm going to burn everything around the Italian peninsula and live off the land. Burn what I don't use. All right, and then after that, we've got all these farmers who are going into financial chaos. Now, when you've got financial chaos, that's a problem not only for the farmers, but who else? Where do we get the recruits for our military? The Roman military at this time. How do you join the military? Money. You have money to buy your own stuff, and you have property, so a little bit of wealth to give you that money so you can buy your own stuff. So it's not like there's a levy or a draft or a conscription. There's nothing like that. Instead, we say we need volunteers. All right, so every Roman at this time, every Roman soldier is a volunteer. So if we're running out of people that have money and land, then what else are we running out of? Soldiers. All right, we're running out of soldiers. And so these guys are going to quickly fall prey to demagogues and warlords. What are demagogues?
They use fear to rule their people.
Yes, perfect. Fear to use their political purposes and in order to rule their people. And then warlords, what kinds of guys are we talking about here? What are they gonna? How are they gonna get people in their army?
Force.
All right, so it could be by force, but that doesn't always work because they may not serve. What? All right, patron-client situation, exactly. All right, and so as a patron of your military, as a general that's running this maniple, for instance, or this cohort, how do you plan to pay your soldiers if they can't pay their own way? How do you plan to pay them? What do you think, Elise? If you're a general, how do you pay your soldiers if they can't pay their own way? Pillage! Booty! Yeah! You pillage some booty. Right? Alright, so that's the plan. Alright, so Carthaginian slaves are going to be proving to be a bit of an issue here too, because all the women and children that we didn't kill at Carthage, we took with us back to Rome. Put them into the slave market. That's another method of making fabulous amounts of money. It's by selling people on the market. By the way, at this time in Roman history, approximately 35% of Roman civilization were slaves, all right, which is quite comparable per capita to the number of slaves in the South, the American South, right before the Civil War. So we have a lot of slaves. All right, now these people are being sold in order to make money and then bought in order to use for work. Now, one thing that's important to think about here too is landowners, when they were owning their farmland at this time, who would they hire to work their land so that they wouldn't have to? Before the war and before the influx of many slaves, what kind of people would you hire to work the land? Because they need jobs.
The lower class?
The lower class people. So freemen who are lower class. And so those people, though, the problem with that is that later, as time develops, the army gets so desperate for men that they'll start drafting those men, those people, and so therefore you lose your workers. So economically speaking, who's better to have working your land? A freeman who gets drafted or a slave who goes nowhere?
Slave.
Slave who goes nowhere. And so why is that a problem for those freemen, those lower classes? They don't have jobs! Exactly! So where are they going to flood into and start panhandling? Where are they going to go? Rome itself, all right, which is going to cause some problems. We're going to have the first Servile War, for instance. In the first Servile War, there was a guy named Eunice, I think that's how you spell his name, say his name, E-U-N-U-S, Eunice, who was rumored to have magical powers. And he was a slave that escaped, and he got 6,000 other slaves to join him in a revolt against masters around Rome. Eventually, 200,000 slaves will join him. This is massive. All right, anyone heard of Spartacus? Spartacus Rebellion? All right, this is giving us a little prequel to Spartacus. All right, so this is happening all over Italy, and it's very problematic for the government. They got to find a way to deal with it. Another problem that's facing Romans at this time is that the Roman soldiers, they're poorly paid. They're coming home, many of them disabled. They're coming home and finding out that their lands had been either pillaged or stolen by some wealthy landlord, and therefore, are they the masters of the world that they were rumored to have been, or told that they were from their generals? Are they the masters of the world? Absolutely not. And so what they're realizing is this is going to become a bigger and bigger problem for politics. So, Appian gives us a great quote, "Thus the powerful citizens became immensely wealthy, and the slave class all over the country multiplied, while common laborers were held down by poverty, taxes, and military service. You are a bunch of senators. What do you propose we do?" What do you think? How do we solve this problem?
Pay your soldiers more.
Pay your soldiers, but we don't have the tax basis to do it.
True. I don't know.
We don't have an adequate tax system to do it.
Get rid of slaves.
Get rid of slaves, but then you lose 35% of your workforce, and that's 35% of the population. That is incredibly expensive to acquire.
What if we put the slaves into the army and put the freemen...
Can you trust slaves? Take a look at the first Servile War. Can you trust slaves to be in the military?
No, probably not. You can always force
You
them.
brainwash them first.
Oh, now we're getting somewhere, or not. All right, so the Gracchi revolution is going to be the result of everything that's happening here in Rome. So, the Gracchi, let's start first with Tiberius Gracchus. Why is he a big deal? Who is he? Tell me about his background.
He was first person to climb the wall.
First person to climb the wall. He's also the brother-in-law to Scipio Aemilianus. He is the grandson of Scipio Africanus, and his mother Cornelia is the descendant from Scipio, right? Now, Cornelia married a prominent plebeian, there we go, I said it right that time, plebeian politician who became consul. But because your heredity passes down your father's side, what are the Gracchus brothers going to be? Are they going to be patrician or plebeian? Plebeian, they will be. All right, indeed. So they're a couple of plebes. So the fact that they rise up so high in this system is pretty cool. That's one thing that makes them cool. But Tiberius, as a plebeian and prominent member of Roman politics and military at this time, he's seeing things from a different perspective. All right, while he is a part of the upper class, technically, he's looking at things through the eyes of a lower class citizen, because as he walks through Rome, as he sees his former soldiers that are now unemployed and landless and homeless, he's really starting to feel for them. So in his rise to politics, this is a man who's going to get the attention of a lot of people because he speaks to the people's needs. All right, so what he's going to do is he's going to talk to the soldiers and start giving these public speeches, arguing in public that land should be redistributed to the poor and the landless, especially soldiers who had fought for Rome. All right, according to Plutarch, he told them that they fought indeed and were slain, but it was to maintain the luxury and the wealth of other men. They were styled the masters of the world, but in the meantime had not 1 foot of ground of which to call their own. So he is going to get elected as tribune. Why is tribune an important position? All right, what? Okay, you can veto, you can propose legislation to the Senate, and then the Senate, can they kill you, by the way, if they don't like your ideas?
Yeah.
They're not supposed to. No, they're not supposed to. All right, so as tribune, this is a plebeian type of status in the government. It's on your way up the ranks here in the Cursus Honorum, as we talked about earlier this week. So as tribune, he's going to go and propose a controversial land bill. All right, why is it controversial? Anyone remember anything about it?
The wealthy don't like it.
Why do the wealthy not like it?
Because he's giving away their land.
Giving away, redistributing the wealth of the upper classes? They don't like that! No! All right, that's socialism. All right, so what he's going to do is start saying, hey, you know that old law that hasn't been enforced for a long time, saying that you're only allowed 300 acres of public land before you're capped out? We should go back to that. Nothing illegal about that. The Senate's like, oh, no! That's our land! How dare he! And he wants to give it to the poor? How dare he? All right, so if you're a senator, what are you going to say to that? All right, bear in mind, you've got violence in the streets. You've got people that are starving in the streets, panhandling like crazy. It gets ugly in the streets. Brady, what do you propose we do about it?
Well,
You're a patrician.
then I'm thinking hell's in the no.
Hell's to the no! Yes, thank you. All right, so hell's to the no because Brady wants her land, right? Brady wants her land, her money, and her wine, and she doesn't care if there are landless poor that are suffering here. And so what he's going to do is make some illegal moves. First of all, he's going to start trying to limit the power of the Senate, start overruling some of the things they're saying. He's going to run for multiple tribuneships, and so he is then proposing legislation that the Senate doesn't like. So his re-election campaign will be illegal because is he allowed to run again for tribune right after he'd already been tribune? No, he's not. And so the Senate is going to try and find ways to block him. They're going to get ticked. They're going to convince another tribune to veto his land bill, his controversial land bill. And so as the result, they're going to end up declaring martial law, essentially, on this guy. And they're going to get a riot started in the streets in which they will convince the poor, the very people that Tiberius was looking out for, to go and club him to death. And they will. They will club him to death. All right, so Appian gives us a great quote. He lost his life because he followed up an excellent plan in too lawless a way. Oh, man. All right, what a good guy. I likes me some Tiberius Gracchus. He's an interesting character. All right, meanwhile, back to the first Servile War for a minute. The Senate, after the death of Gracchus, is going to decide, well, you know what we need to do is get rid of these servants that are pissing us off. So we're going to send in Publius Rupilius over to Sicily. Now, Sicily had become this major haven of these rebels that are fighting against the government. And so he's going to send, they're going to send him down there, and he's going to lay siege to the city of Tauromenium. I think that's how you say it. Whatever. All right, so he's going to lay siege to it. There you go. Now, according to Diodorus, another Roman historian here, he's going to say that the city got so bad, there were such unspeakable conditions, that by beginning by eating the children, they progressed to the women and did not altogether abstain from eating one another. Oh man, and so he'll end up breaking his way into the city as they're on the brink of starvation or cannibalism, as you can see, and he's going to torture slaves nearly to death in order to get information out of them to where the location of Eunice is, and then he's going to throw them off of a cliff. Still living. Throw them off of a cliff, and you will hear their screams as they plummet to their deaths. Then they're going to find Eunice, and they're going to take him back to Rome, put him in jail, and let him starve to death, where, according to one historian, his flesh disintegrated into a mass of lice. Ew. All right, thus endeth the first Servile War. Good times, huh? That brings us to Gracchus number 2. All right, Gaius Gracchus. How does he compare to his brother? You've done the reading. What do you think? How does he compare to his brother? Tiberius? He was a little bit, I guess you could say a little bit more level-headed. Even though he's doing illegal things, he has an excellent plan, but he's level-headed. All right, but how does Gaius compare? All right, so he is... He's what?
No, never mind.
Oh, okay. So he is harsher and much less compromising. They killed his brother for crying out loud. All right, so the Senate, how does he feel about the freaking Senate? He hates them, and he wants to let them know it. All right, so he'll get elected tribune in 123, and as he is elected tribune, he proposes some things that are going to tick off a lot of senators. One thing he does is he wants to limit the Senate's ability to appoint provincial governors. Now, why, if I am a member of the Senate and a former consul, let's say that I serve as consul for a year, then what do I do with my life? Anyone? After I serve as consul for a year,
Drink wine and sit around.
well, yeah, you drink wine and sit around in a different location in the Roman Empire. You spend a year as a governor of one of these beautiful little territories out here. So you leave Rome for a year and you serve as governor. Now, while governor, you get into a little business called extortion. What is extortion? I mean, this is the whole goal of being governor, not actually running the empire efficiently, but being corrupt. All right, so extortion means that you're collecting slaves and selling them for your own money, not for the state, for your own money. Another thing that you do is you send out tax collectors who are working for you, and you say, this is how much you're supposed to charge according to Rome, but this is how much I want you to charge, right? And then they split the profits. Isn't that nice? What a way to live! All right, so if I've got a tremendous amount of personal debt to a bunch of creditors in Rome, what's the best way to fix it? Become a governor. That's what Julius Caesar did. All right, so yeah, it's going to be awesome. So the appointment of governors then is something that Gaius wants to limit so that the Senate can't just keep sending these guys to go and extort the people. Another thing he wants to do is limit the Senate's power in the extortion court. Because if you get charged with extortion, if only senators are the judge and jury in the court, are they going to be very harsh on these men that are charged with extortion? Since they themselves are doing extortion as well. No, and often, ironically, in the extortion court, not only are you convicting the crime of extortion, but you're using extortion in order to get money so that you don't convict someone. You get it? Yeah? You're getting paid off here. You can make money in the extortion court. All right, so Gaius says, look, we got to end that. Instead, we need to send equates, or equestrians. What are the equestrians again? Horses. All right, so equestrians means horses today, because back then it meant a normal landowner, like a freeman, for instance, a plebeian who was a landowner, or a knight. He owned some land, but he was a good guy. He's saying, look, we need to make sure that it's not just patricians sitting here. We need to have equestrians out there as tax collectors who are more honest and are going to do the right thing and avoid extortion. So he's saying that's the best way to deal with this thing. Another thing that he wants to do is redistribute public lands again! Alright, so that didn't go very well the first time, and yet he's proposing the exact same plan and thinking, I've got an even better idea. We're going to create new colonies, and we're going to send some of the landless poor in Rome and give them free land in these colonies. One place we're going to go is the smoldering ashes of Carthage. There it is. The smoldering ashes of Carthage. Why is this a tremendous blunder? Why is this a blunder?
Because they salted it.
They salted it. Well, yeah, that's part of it. All right, and even if that's just legend and they hadn't salted it, do you want to go to the place you just conquered and it was your mortal enemy for like 50 years? You want to go there? Probably not. All right, so that's not the best place to send people. And so even the people of Rome that liked his ideas before are going to be like, oh, wait a second, buddy. You're telling me you want to go live in Hannibal's land? It's like sending me to Osama's cave to go live for a while. You want to send me to Osama's cave? No, thank you. All right, I'd rather not. Or, send me to Baghdad. I'd rather not. Okay, so the Senate responds then. What are you guys going to do to him?
Kill him.
Kill him! How do you do that, though, if he's a tribune?
Still do it. Who cares?
All right. So what you're going to do is pass your last decree, which in Latin was senatus consortum ultimum, which means we're declaring martial law. We're declaring martial law, meaning that no one is really safe. You have to follow the government's orders here. They're going to convince a mob that they need to go and kill Gaius. And so Gaius hears about it, and instead of letting the mob kill him, anyone know what he's going to do? He'll have a slave help kill him. He's going to have him slit his throat, all right? So he will die just before the mob gets to him. Now, another thing that is going to develop out of this is there's going to be there are two different groups within the Senate, and they have very different opinions on how to deal with this stuff. We have the populares versus the optimates. All right, those were both in the reading. What's a populares? What do you think?
Popular.
Popular. All right, you see popular there. What do they believe? Who should they help here? Who should they be looking out to if you're a popularis?
The common man.
The common man. Good. All right. And if you're an optimates, who should you be looking out for?
The elite.
The elite. The best in society. Exactly. All right. So that's the result of the Gracchi Revolution. We get a great quote from a historian named Susan Weisbauer. She's very sagacious. She's very wise. And she gives us a wise quote here. It says, after the disaster of the Gracchi, it was clear that new laws were not going to bring any solution to the growing problems of poverty and landlessness. The Roman constitution would neither bring nor prevent justice. The will of the rich or the charisma of the popular could always subvert it. What's that tell you? What's it going to take to fix Rome? Rome's in a tough spot right now. What's it going to take to fix this political turmoil, this political deadlock, this government that can't seem to get anything done? What's it going to take?
A revolution.
A revolution! Oh! Watch out for history to repeat itself. Let's hope we can avoid such things, huh? Maybe. All right, well, let's add war to the variance. Let's see what war does to this situation. So we've got the Numidian War. You can see Numidia is over here in northern Africa, formerly Carthaginian territory. And so there was a king by the name of King Massinissa, whom Rome was allied to, and he's going to kick the bucket. Now he had a couple of sons. One of them was named Messipsa. All right, now Messipsa took the throne, but his brother Jugurtha, there you go, Jugurtha, didn't like it. So Jugurtha wants to have the throne of Numidia. And so he's going to be told by a number of Roman legionnaires that were sitting there that at Rome, money could buy anything. So if he wants that throne, what's he going to do? Send money to the Romans. Oh, okay. But first he's got to get rid of Messipsa, too. All right, so Messipsa is going to die, and after he dies, he just died of natural causes, by the way. When he dies, a guy by the name of Adherbal was supposed to take over the throne. But Jugurtha doesn't want it, so he goes to Rome, gives them a chest of gold, and even though the senators used to hate Jugurtha, now suddenly, how are they feeling about him? Oh, we like you now. You're welcome to take the throne. So, Jugurtha's going to go back, and he's going to start killing off homies of Adherbal, trying to take out Adherbal as well, but he's going to get away. He's going to go to Rome. He's going to say, look what this man is doing to my kingdom. I deserve it. So what will the Senate do? Yeah, okay, he's being kind of nasty. I guess we'll change your mind, even though he gave us a chest of gold. See how perfidious these senators are. All right, so then they're going to bring charges against Jugurtha, and they're going to bring him to Rome as a political prisoner. And they're going to put him on trial. So what do you think Jugurtha's going to do to get off the hook? He's going to bail himself out. He's going to buy all the right people so that he does not get convicted with any kind of crimes or lose his throne. And so as he was leaving the city, he reportedly turned around and looked at the city of Rome and said, there is a city put up for sale, and if it finds a buyer, its days are numbered. Oh, watch out. All right, so that brings us to Gaius Marius. Gaius Marius was fighting at this time in the Roman army, and he was ticked. He was tired of seeing people just buy off the Senate willy-nilly. So he decided, you know what, I'm going to go on an honest campaign here against Jugurtha. I'm going to fight him, and I'm going to show him what's what. And so what he will do is, first of all, he's what we call a new man or a novus homo. Why do we call him a novus homo? All right, not only that, but what else? Is he a patrician?
No.
How did he get up to the top of the system?
Rags to riches.
All right, rags to riches, very good. Your Carnegie style. He is going to fight his way in the military, but then fight his way politically and start accumulating wealth as well. So he's a rags to riches kind of guy, a new man. All right, another thing that he's going to do is create client armies, because he knows the best way to get fighters, when we've got all these landless poor, we need to create an army of these landless poor, get them into the ranks. The problem is they don't have a way to pay for this stuff themselves. They're what you call proletarians. That's a word we've seen when we talked about the Industrial Revolution last year, but tell me, what's a proletarian? What does that mean? Are they the upper class? What are they?
Lower.
Lower class. All right, so proletarians, lower class, they can't afford the job. So he's going to say, don't worry. You make sure you put up a little money so that you can help get some of your armor. And then, how am I going to pay you in the future? And how am I going to provide for your stuff in the future?
Land.
Booty! Yes, land. So we're going to get that booty from conquering other territories. So a client army. Is this a problem?
Yeah.
Who am I allied with if my pay comes from my general and not from the country? Not from the Senate, not from the Republic?
You're allied with the general.
I'm allied with my general. So if he tells me, hey, by the way, we're going to go attack Rome because there's this dude I don't like there, what am I going to do? Like, hey, man, you're paying my bills. I don't care. You can give me some booty. I'm all right with that. All right? You tell me about wine and riches and women. I'm into that. All right, so these client armies are going to become a problem big time here as we develop. So he's going to win a victory over Jugurtha, and he is going to receive a triumph. All right, who can tell me what a triumph is? This is the thing to get if you are a Roman general.
It's like, you're awesome, so let's create food.
Yes, you're awesome. So we're going to parade you through on a chariot with your booty in tow, including Jugurtha, who is enchained with a lovely chain around his neck and his hands tied behind his back. They're going to go through this massive parade. People will be throwing flower petals. They're going to love him. And so we have, Rome has got themselves their darling at this point. They love this guy. And so what are they going to elect him to become?
Consul.
Consul. Not once, but six times. You're kidding me? Is this legal?
No.
Does anybody care?
No.
All right, Senate, what's your response? How do you feel about him getting elected 6 times and being this military warlord? You like it? No, not really. You gonna do anything about it? Let's see. All right. So Marius, after his 6th consul term, is going to step aside because he's interested in some military conquest. And so he's going to get his chance here because Italians at this time, well, when we talk about Italians, we're talking about the neighboring Soci states. Remember, the Roman Federation was not just Rome. It was neighboring states. And what are these states wanting? What does civis Romanus sum mean?
They want to be Roman citizens.
All right, I am a Roman citizen, and so therefore the Italians want to be Roman citizens. Why would you want to be a citizen?
So they can't be put to death.
All right, because then you can't be put to death. All right, unless you do something really bad. But
Yeah,
typically that doesn't
representation.
happen. And then what?
You have representation.
You have representation. Good. So you can, I mean, when you're part of this federation, you can't actually vote, right? You can't vote on the things that help determine your future. So therefore, they want to be able to be a part of this system and have representation, direct representation, and be able to vote. All right, so that is not going to happen, though. The Senate doesn't want to give them that kind of power because that would weaken their own status and their own citizenship, they think. And so this will result in a little thing called the social war. Now, the social war is going to lead to the deaths of 300,000 people, all fighting for citizenship. All right, and so the big question is, how do we deal with it? Well, another warlord is going to come around with some ideas on how to deal with it, and that guy, I don't know why his face got covered up there, sorry. That is Lucius Cornelius Sulla. All right, so Lucius Cornelius Sulla, when he comes in, he wants to be elected consul. Because of some of his military victories, he'll be a popular man, and in 88 BCE, he will get elected to consul. Now, there's a war against a guy named Mithridates. All right, Mithridates is hanging out over here by the Black Sea. He's the king of Pontus. So right over here is where Mithridates is living. And he was tired of being under Roman authority. Right? So why not want to live under Roman authority? First of all, he doesn't have citizenship, by the way. But what else is he ticked about? What did the Romans do to you when you were under their authority? Tax the heck out of you and require contribution of soldiers, for instance, and other materials. And so he's sick of it, so he decides to fight a war against Rome. Now, as consul, who should get the appointment to go and fight Mithridates? Who should get it?
Right.
No. Who should get it? Since he's the consul.
Lucius.
Consuls have both, remember they have imperium? What does imperium mean?
Oh.
The ability to what? Imperial power. They have the ability to fight. They are appointed as generals on campaign, and they are the political leaders. Sounds kind of silly, like if Obama was given imperium and we say, hey, go fight in Afghanistan. Things are getting bad there right now. Okay, my president, we'll run the show from here on out, right? Because under the Republic, who's supposed to have the real authority? Alright, the Senate's supposed to have the real authority, but they'll send out their consuls with Imperium when times call for it. Alright, so, it's kind of a silly idea maybe, but it has worked up to this point, sort of. And so, Sulla expects that he will get the Imperium, he will get the job to go fight against Mithridates. And so he takes off with an army on his way to go fight. Now Gaius Marius comes back, and he says, well, wait a second, I want it. I'm more successful. Give me the title, and give me the job to go fight. And so they will. The Senate will give it to him. So who's righteously pissed? Lucius Sulla! Alright, use his last name. Sulla is what we call him now. So Sulla is going to go and attack Rome! Alright, he's going to send his men to attack Rome. Now, all but one of his military officers are going to refuse to come with them on this attack of Rome because they think that it's a treasonous act. But what about his client army? How are they going to feel about it? Other than the officers. I don't feel like a tag with it. You promised me wine, women, and booty. I'm all about it, buddy. And so they decide to do it. So we have a civil war and a reign of terror. Now, not only is Sulla trying to kill off all the friends of Marius, but what else? What's Marius doing? Sulla's trying to kill all the friends of Marius. What's Marius trying to do?
Trying to kill him.
Kill all the friends of Sulla. I mean, it is pandemonium, it's chaos in the streets. It is tyrannicide all over the place in the street. And so Sulla is going to put out what's called a proscription. Anyone remember what a proscription is? Yes! Alright, so I got a fever, and the only proscription is to kill all the heathens out there, like Marius, right? Yeah, alright. And some cowbell. Alright, so we're going to go and start to kill anybody that's accused of treason. We're going to put up a list of everybody who's accused of treason, and then it's your job as Roman citizens to track those people down and kill them. Why would you be intrigued by this potential, though? Why would you actually go through with it? What was that, Christy?
You get like prestige.
You get prestige, money, fame, sure, absolutely. Money's a big one, though. Because if Joey is a fantastic landowner, but also a friend of Marius, then I'm going to want to kill him. Because what happens to all of his land and wealth when he's killed as a traitor? It's given up, all right? And so if I kill him, I get his wealth. Oh, yeah. So I'm just going to start throwing people under the bus and just start saying, oh, totally guilty. Let's go kill him. Totally guilty. Let's go kill him. All right, so that's going to happen like crazy. And so he's going to become the dictator. And Plutarch tells us a great quote about Sulla. He says, in the heat of the moment, he let anger dictate events. All he could see were his enemies. And he used fire as the agent of his return to Rome. Fire, which made not distinction between the guilty and the innocent. He doesn't care if you're guilty or innocent. He's going to kill you if you're not a buddy of Sulla. All right, and so once he establishes his dictatorship, he's going to establish Optimate's domination. So now that the Senate has allowed him to get to this point and helped establish his authority, he's going to make sure that the Optimates are dictating the events here, not the Populares. All right, so the lessons that we learn from these years of warlords, first of all, what has the purpose of war become?
Money.
All right, war has been used now for money. It's about plunder. It's about cash. It's about slaves. It's not only for the general who's in charge, but who else? The client army that's serving under him, which is problematic. All right, this patron-client system is also very difficult to deal with because these proletarian armies are not allied or serving the Senate, but they're swearing their allegiance to a warlord, to the man that's going to promise them wine, women, and booty. All right, and then there's also this competition for status that's gotten so severe and so ambitious in Rome that it leads to civil war, violent outbreaks and violent civil war. All right, and so it can help the state if we have people like Cicero who want to do this for good. We'll hear about Cicero next week. If we have people that want to, be ambitious for the good of the state, that's great. But typically, is that how it goes? Not everybody out there is Cicero? No, there's far more Caesars and Pompeys and Crassuses and Sullas and Mariuses out there than Ciceros. Oh,